So, the question today is, what did they do different than what my family has done different? And what will they be doing different than what I do different? Um, you have, I've been pondering through the idea of, being in my lower 30s, how life has changed since I was born in the 90s, 1990 that'd be. I get into these discussions about how to preserve wealth. My dad purchased the home from my grandfather, same home that he grew up in and then that I grew up in, and my dad wants to sell it to buy new property. And I listened to the David Ramsey, you can buy more, sell it. You don't want to rent it. Why rent it? Well, okay, it's more nuanced than that. But, he says you can buy something different. And there's always houses for sale. But this is property that, it's a few acres. It's in what I believe is a good area. The city's expanding out. It's getting closer and closer to that property. But my dad's in the mood where he's like, hey, I got to sell it. I got to have cash on hand to buy the next property. And then you think about, like my grandfather, he has it written in his will that, the house he owns, which has, it's in a northern city in Michigan, has a good amount of property, and now it's beautiful land. Now he has it written in his will that it'll be discussed between the three siblings. They can't maintain it. They don't want to do anything with it. So they're going to sell it. And they're going to sell it for market value, we'll say. But, you play that out through 3, 4, 5 generations, and next you know, your few acres, we'll just say 20 acres between the family, because I've seen this happen for the in-law side too. It gets subdivided and subdivided and sold off and sold off and sold off. Where some families retain assets. They retain the land. Now, yeah, it works. I guess you sell it off, and then you play that out. So then the three parties that get it, my uncle, my aunt, my dad, they all receive the portions of how much it was divided up, right? The how much the home came out to be divided by 3. We'll say they're gonna piss it away. My uncle's probably gonna buy a new car. My aunt's old. They're older. They're ready for retirement. They have their house, their retirement house. They're locked in. They might roll it over to my cousin, who will spend it on the things she needs. And because we'll say it's a northern Michigan home and it sells for $200,000. Split 3 ways. What, $65,000? We'll say $60,000. Just because there's some costs. There always costs. $60,000. That goes fast. That's one SUV. So then eventually, my dad gets his portion. Rolls it into the house down here, and he's happy, right? But we lost that value that my grandfather might have bought that property for $50,000, and it might be worth a little bit more. But he bought it for cheap, worked hard, paid it off. It's free and clear, but nobody has the time. I get that. Nobody has the time to maintain it. But you look around, and there's these homes that are held by families, and they just hold them. The house, ends up being more of the liability than the asset, but it falls apart. But they keep the property, and what I'm trying to work out is, I'm an interested party in having that property, but I don't have that money. I can't pay. My dad would give me his basically. He would allow me to, with some convincing, he would allow me to have his share. my aunt and uncle, maybe convince them, but I'm not in a position currently where how I'm living to pay that off, or I'm not ready for that. And some people will be like, oh, okay, so you're not ready, then don't do it, right? Like you won't get it. Boo-hoo, too bad. But but I guess it would come to the amount of cash on hand, or the comfortability that the family has to realize, oh, $60,000, like, yeah, sure, whatever, you can have it, no skin off our back, just let us stay there a couple times, right? Some families are like that, some families will retain that. They'll put it in some type of trust fund, right? Which is what I would like to discuss with my grandfather. That is next on the docket with him. But the question is, what have they done that my family hasn't done, and what will they do that I won't do? Because I grew up in, traditionally, one side of my family are savers, the other ones are spenders. We got the redneck Riviera on one side, and we got the devout Christians on the other. One side, I got a grandma that hasn't saved a nickel for retirement. The most money she's ever retained in her life is the money that I've paid her for watching my children. Versus my grandfather, who retired government twice, lives up north and relaxes in his. So I am now in my early 30s trying to take on the role of generational wealth, family structure, and retaining something for our family, so that in 3 generations we don't have we're working to rent. And it's like a puzzle to me. And everybody has their ideas. Everyone will have their ideas. Because I know there's many, depending on the property, obviously there's a lot of factors. Depending on the property, get it, rent it. Location isn't very good. Airbnb, that's possible. A lot of good features around there. I'm leaning a little that way. But it gets messy, right? And then you talk to people that did estate planning, and they say, hey, to stop from the fighting, because you'll always have somebody that thinks they need more, or you'll always have somebody that feels like they got slated, or they wanted the property and it didn't come to them and they should have got first dibs. So everybody sells everything off. And I would, in what I'm aspiring to do, my goal, and I'll keep you updated, my goal is to find a way to to retain some type of generational stronghold. That's all. I'm sick of. My dad's a factory worker. My mom, a little bit of school stuff here and there, doesn't look good. And I'm trying to break that trend. I'm trying to get us out of this mindset that, or reframe an idea that, you retained equity in your home for those. You refinanced a couple times, but you retained equity in that home that you have had for 30 years, and you got a low payoff, and that you just need to roll that money over. But what are the options? And everybody's in different stages of their life, and all this stuff. Everything pulls you in different directions. But what I want to do, and what I'm trying to do, is find the best thing for my last name. And I'm trying to get that information. I'm trying to, and you know, there's a plethora of it. There's so much information out there on YouTube, and you know, financial advisors. All you can do all that. I've been fortunate enough that my wife and I sacrificed early and grinded early, that we can break this. We can change mindsets. We can somehow help the family. And that's another thing. We won't even get into the trying to convince a family member what to do with their assets. We know how that works out. But all I'm trying to do is strengthen that last name and leave something behind. Have my family, have my sister and my brother leave something behind for their kids. Have something to leave behind for my kids. Not be able to not be taking advantage of the system you don't understand. Because my family has gone through that for many years, many generations. And I'm just looking down the road in 5 years, 6 years, in my own house and then outside of my house, how we can keep it together. And how we can be one of those families that break out. That's the goal. And I know that's everybody's goal, but I'll keep you updated. Peace.